Hi, welcome to the ZP Vlog and Podcast. So we do this vlog and podcast every Sunday at 8 a.m. and we try to cover news from ZP for this week. Just of recent, we actually had a visit from the University of Virginia, and they brought a sort of group of students, about 25 students, over to ZP, and we were able to give them a kind of tour about the facilities and what we do at ZP and our technologies. And I think it was really well received. So thank you to the University of Virginia for, it's quite a long way to come, obviously, to Norway. And we were part of the tour, but we did have some really nice feedback that people really, they say the students really enjoyed the visit at ZP. So thank you for the guys for coming, and we enjoyed hosting you. Some other news from ZP for this week. We've also we get a lot of questions about screen printed electrodes, and I just try to sort of, sometimes it's a little hard to navigate around. So we just try to put everything that was, how do I say this? We try to put everything on a page so people could quickly find it, because I think that people don't necessarily appreciate that you can, for example, get 200 graphene electrodes from ZP for €390. That basically means sort of less than less than €2 each. But when you look at the price of graphene these days, or the graphene electrodes, this is extraordinarily good value. So I do want people to find these materials. I mean, the carbon electrodes, we do a sheet of them, €250 for something like 300. So it's, it is an exceptionally good price. The same with gold electrodes. I think it's €500 for a sheet of 300. So it's, it's pretty compelling. And the same then for platinum. A sheet of 300, and it's like €500. So it's, we just wanted to highlight, look, there are these very competitive, both value products and low cost products on the market. Also of recent, we've put a we did a newsletter, and we want to say to people, look, we do a newsletter every couple of months, and we try to keep the newsletter very efficient in terms of the ability to navigate that newsletter. So links and buttons, and it's not one of these kind of rambling newsletters. We do try to get to the point very quickly, because we do actually respect people's time. So we do have a newsletter. There is a sign up button on the website, and we would just kind of wanted to highlight that. I think people actually get a lot of value out of our newsletter, because we always try to, how could I put that, lead with value. That we want to be respectful of people's time. People are respectful of our time, so we reciprocate through that as well. Every month we try to do a workshop, at least two, one in Norway and one in the UK. And so we have been running these workshops, for example, in Coventry, and we have one billed for the 8th of September. These are really a kind of, I don't want to be extreme on it, but a must for anyone who's really getting into biosensors or wearable biosensors. I think these workshops are really a really good launch pad for people coming to learn about biosensing from ZP. We've also got a sister company called Massius Sensors, and Massius Sensors does a really good job of PCBs. When I say PCBs, they're using printed circuit boards as a substrate for making biosensors upon. And they gave us some extra data this week, and it just, for us, shows how robust their gold is in their printed circuit board. So good job to Massius Sensors there. This is to remind me that, of course, every Thursday at 8 a.m. London time, we do a webinar for members of the ZP Developer Zone, but really just questions that come in during the week. So if you have any questions from ZP, which are generally technical, we do answer them once a week in our webinar. We also had a really nice inquiry this week as well, and I think this just highlights a little bit that at ZP we definitely are well known for electrochemical sensing, electrochemical biosensing, but we've also got skills in sort of microfabrication. Now this is, maybe I should use the term mesofabrication, but here we've been making capillaries with orifices or diameters of tips that are about 0.1 millimeter. So we have been busy working on glass capillaries this week as well, with 100 micron inside diameter on those tips. And we also wanted to highlight a whole series of technologies from ZP around pH sensing. So at ZP, we've been doing pH sensing for about as long as ZP has existed. We have a lot of cool technologies around this, and we just wanted to kind of highlight that. Something that's a little bit more unusual is, unfortunately, there's an environmental, I would call it an environmental biomarker, which is microplastics. They are finding microplastics everywhere, including the human body these days, and it kind of makes sense that the degradation for plastic is it just gets eroded and eroded until it gets smaller and smaller and smaller, at which point then it just becomes dust, or part of the dust matrix, and actually can end up in the human body. So people are very concerned about microplastics. I think microplastics are really, as I say, a biomarker for the whole sort of pollution problem. But at ZP, we're actually starting to use electrochemical techniques to count and detect microplastics, which is unusual because the particles themselves are not necessarily intrinsically electrochemically active, but we have found ways and techniques of actually measuring those particles. Something that's pretty close to our hearts at ZP as well is we're starting to understand, but we're starting to promote the idea that ZP's technologies, including our micropotentiostats and our Julie database with all its data science capabilities and all its data analytics capabilities, has really got a role in how would I put this, in battery management systems. So we did put a sort of extensive video out there this week about the role of ZP's tech in battery management. We use the idea of sort of lithium-ion batteries to illustrate the point. But I think it's just to say, at ZP we are definitely interested in power and energy as well as sensing. But when you look at power and energy, we're still kind of focused on that kind of sensing part, which is answering the question about what is the remaining useful life of that battery? What is the state of health of that battery? What is the state of charge of that battery? So I think it's fair to say that we have been busy at ZP, and if I was to sort of summarize it, we've had visits from students this week. We've obviously done our webinars per normal. Our sister company has put out a new product. ZP has highlighted our own, let's say, products through our graphene, carbon, platinum, and gold electrodes. And, if you've really got any technical questions to ZP, don't forget there'll be a sister webinar to this webinar, which will happen on Sunday, 8 a.m. London time, and there we'll try to answer all technical questions that come in from the week. But I will, at that point, say thank you very much, and of course, don't hesitate to reach out to us at ZP. Okay, thanks very much.